Today on Plumbing Around, we're going to do a drain and flush and anode replacement on a hot water tank. First thing you want to do is turn off your gas supply to the tank. And then you want to locate where the anode rod is on the tank. I like to drain down a little bit of the water before taking out the anode, just so you're not going to have a little bit of water squirting out of the top with the pressure in the system. Turn off your water supply to the tank, and then open the drain up a little bit. But I like to leave the bulk of the water in the tank while doing the anode rod to have the weight of the water in there to help hold the tank while I'm getting the old anode rod out. So we'll drain down a little bit of the water. We'll double check with a faucet to make sure the pressure is off the system. And then the next thing we need to do is find the right size of socket to go on the anode rod. In this case, it was an 1/1/16 socket. It may be in there very snug from the original factory install, so it might take a little bit of work once we've got it loosened and we're going to bring it out. The trick is to get the rod out of the well that it's in, so it can be a little bit of a challenge. And then once we're able to get it started, you want to be really careful that as the rod comes out, if it's the first time it's ever been changed, that you don't break the rod and drop the bottom part of it back into the tank. You can see all the mineral buildup on the rod and how it's narrowed at the top. And the whole point of the rod is to have the rod get sacrificed before the lining on the tank. That's why it's called a sacrificial anode. So on the left we have the new rod, on the right the old rod. You can see the big contrast in what they look like. So to put the new one in, we'll put some thread tape on the threads on the top and then a little bit of pipe dope. So for the thread tape, left-hand rule, item you're putting the tape on in the left hand, rolling the tape away from you. So as you thread it into place, you're not accidentally backing the tape off. So we'll gently set the new rod into place. We'll feed it down into the hole. And once we get it in where it's sitting properly, we are careful not to cross-thread it. We'll tighten it back up by hand before we put the socket or a snipe onto it to tighten it up a little bit. You don't have to go as tight as what it comes from factory, just nice and snug is all that's required. When you're attempting to do this on your tank, you just need to find out where the rod is located at first. This tank was a power vent model. It was under the power vent, so it was a little bit harder to find, but just check with your manufacturer's instructions for where that is. So now we're tightening up the new rod. We're just tightening back up our water supplies as we undid the one a little bit so it wasn't airlocked when we were draining it. Now that we have that, we're going to flush the rest of the tank out, that it's empty after we got the old rod out. So we'll run a little bit of water, then we'll drain it out of the bottom to flush out any sediment and mineral buildup that's in the bottom. And before attempting this, I would turn the gas off initially, either have a nice long hot shower or do some dishes. You don't want to be running super cold water through a still hot tank because it may shock the liner on it and not be good for it. And once you're done, turn the water back on, fill it up, turn the gas back on, and away you go.